Thank you. And next we're on to percentage of assessments. Assessor Schwant, can you provide some information on the percentage of assessments?
Well, currently we're hitting roughly about 86% of market value. And if you look at anything out for sale right now, that's probably dropping daily. People are looking at properties for sale, and I think the realtors are actually asking them to offer $10,000 or more over asking price in order for them to purchase the property because it's such a hot market. So as we move forward, you'll see, especially in the residential market, that the ratio of assessed to market value has dropped off considerably. I mean, we're probably closer as we sit right now to probably 80% or 75% of market value than we are to the current 86%. So on the commercial side of it, we're probably closer to 90% versus the actual market value. But understand this is on an average basis overall. It's not just, you know, we have to look at the 35,000 parcels that we have that we assess versus the sales that we get. So it's not on a per parcel basis, on an average for the previous year that the Department of Revenue measures versus the sales that we've had. So it's a delayed measurement. So the stuff that we're seeing now is probably a lot lower versus the sale price than what we've seen over the past year. So I think unless something happens drastically with the rates, interest rates, or the way things are going, I don't see anything changing as far as the ratio changing much. It's still going to be dropping off after the revaluation. Hopefully we'll catch up, and there may be a breather for a while, but unless the interest rates change, like I said, quite a bit, this market's still going to keep on heating up.
Question for you. I'm on the home builders board, and right now the cost, if they can get the materials, the cost for the home building, I mean, you know, basically piggybacking on what you said, the costs of new homes are just going out of this world.
Right.
And I mean, how does that play in with, obviously, like you said, right now the hot market, besides for existing inventory? I mean, we had a presentation from Bellevue and Alloway even, and anything new, it's just gone crazy.
Well, and that kind of all ties into even the existing homes, because if people aren't able to buy a new home or build a new home on a lot, they're going to be turning over to existing homes, and that's going to drive the prices up on those. So, and the demand for those. So that's what we're seeing, is that it's kind of like the Packer houses across from Lambeau. You know, it started out with the houses directly across the street from Lambeau, and now it's starting to spread farther out. So it's like that. So it's, you know, the cost of lumber, a 2x4 used to be, you know, $1 something, and now it's pushing up to like $8.
Yeah.
Plywood is ridiculous, and it used to be that they couldn't get it. Some of it was being shipped to areas that were ravaged by hurricanes, or some of it was being, like gypsum was being shipped out to China. So the demand, I've heard that by next year, some of that stuff, the supply will be catching up, and I'm hoping that's the case, because that will put a little bit of better cost in the pockets of the consumer, so that maybe some of this stuff will come down and relieve some of the stress on the market. But we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be tough for us to kind of keep up with it, but that's part of the cycle that we're going to be looking at, is doing a revaluation. And that's part of the thing I was going to talk to you about, Ron, was every 5 years, instead of waiting as long as we've been waiting, we're going to do revaluation every 5 to 7 years. So that will help with that, just to keep on top of the market.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That concludes item G. And now we're on to item H, discussion on annual assessment report. Assessor Schwant.
I guess I did touch on it quite a bit. I think, I don't know if, did we put a copy in? Jim, do you know, did Nicole submit a copy? I don't know if Steve's on the line.
Yes, I'm here.
Steve, did Nicole submit a copy of the assessment report? I think that was.
Yes, I think I might have that. Let me just.
Yeah, that was the report that was to be distributed to the members.
Okay, let me just. Is it a 2021 omitted property roll?
No, this is just the assessment report. It's just kind of a breakdown of the number of sales that we've had, the reviews that we've done, the inspections and so on over the past year as far as the actual physical activity that we've done.
I didn't get a copy of that if there was one.
Okay.
I just got something this morning from Nicole, so I don't think, it probably is in that zip file of documents. I'm just not sure which one it is.
Okay. Well, it's kind of a annual report that isn't required, but what we've done in the past is submit it along with our other documents. It does basically tell you what we've done over the year. Just off the top of my head, because I don't have a copy of it in front of me, is we've had roughly, I think, total of about over 3,000 sales. Of those, probably 2,000 of those have been legitimate sales that we've had to review for assessment purposes. Those are the ones that are used to determine that ratio that we talked about earlier. And what we do, because of COVID over the past year, we've had to rely on other sources because obviously we can't get into the houses to verify that information. We've got everything accurate. So what we've done is look at other sources of data, whether it be our property record files or MLS data, which is a real good source. We are a member of the local multiple listing service. So we get the sold information. So what we do is compare our data to what the information comes off on the MLS. And if we've got differences, obviously we're going to make a change. So what we found over the past couple of years is that a lot of people are finishing off basements, putting decks on, air conditioning units and so on that we haven't had in the past. And obviously the new owners are going to get dinged with that new improvement that the previous owners didn't take out permits for, which is unfortunate. But, you know, we have to improve that property or previously when we find out about it. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to go back and add for it for the previous owner because the law doesn't allow us to do that. So what we've done is just pick it up as we find it. And hopefully over the next year, when we do the revaluation, we'll catch up on a lot more stuff. But with that in mind, the inspectors have also been very helpful when they're giving us copies of all their inspection that they go out and do. And if they do find something, they're letting us know. We get copies of all the building permits over the years, from minor stuff all the way through all the major stuff that we've reviewed. So there's a lot of information in the report. I can make sure that you all get a copy of it just to review it. It's a lot of information, but for the most part, we look at information from the building inspectors. People call in, and some people do rat on their neighbors. We get information from the sales listings, from the actual sales themselves. And we do get a request for reviews from property owners themselves. They do call in and want us to come through their properties. Most of the time they've got them for sale and they're not getting the listing price that they're asking for. So we'll review it based on that. And that's something that property owners are able to do on an annual basis because every year stands on its own. So what we do is offer that service every year. That's pretty much what's in the report, but it's more detailed. Obviously, if you have any specific questions on properties, we do have all our information. We're working on improving our assessment website as we go along. We've been adding all our sketches out there, commercial and residential. So it seems to be working quite well. So once we're done with the revaluation, you'll see a lot more data out there. And hopefully if there's anything we can add, any questions or any suggestions, we're willing to take suggestions from the public or people that are involved with the assessor's office. So That's all I have for that.
Do we have
Thank you.
anybody that can review the rolls?
Well, the rolls are there, so I would suggest maybe Mr. Antono could probably be the one to do that. He's the only one in the area that has the ability to be there.
Yeah, why don't he can do that. I don't know where is he located to where they are right now?
So he is upstairs from me, and it would just be a question of me printing them and giving them to him.
We'll have him go. We won't do it right this minute, but we'll have him at some time before this meeting's over with, maybe see if he can review them and then get back to us. The next thing on the agenda is any additional requests from the city assessor?
We do have a couple, but we have 2 requests for waivers that we would like.
Yeah, that item is item K.
Okay.
So we have examination of the assessment role and performance of statutory duties. And then item J is consideration of possible action on additional requests. So we will skip over item I and go to item J, which is consideration with possible action on additional requests received by the city assessor.
I haven't any, unless any staff has any, we have not received any additional requests at this time.
I can confirm that this office has not received any additional requests.
Okay. Are we going to go to the waivers now?
Certainly.
Okay.
Just get there.
Why don't we, I see we have 2 waivers. Is that right, Russ?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we on the first waiver, would the assessor please read for the record the legal description of
Steve, you want to do that, please?
First of all, would the clerk swear the assessor in and anybody else that's going to testify for the assessor's office?
Yes, thank you. So all the people who, so we have Russ, who also is going to testify for the assessor's office on this one. Would that be Steve? And
yes.
Okay, so Russ and Steve, can you please raise your right hands? And please state your name.
Russ Schwant.
Thank you. I do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States.
I do.
I do.
And the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin.
I do.
And to tell the truth in these proceedings.
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's take, we'll take the first waiver, which I believe is Walmart. Would you like to read for the record the legal description of that property?
Russ, we're just pulling it up.
Okay. For those of you that aren't aware, this property is out on Guns Road. It's just actually a corner of the Bellevue of East Main Street.
Okay.
We just have a portion of it. So they're obviously objecting to the entire building, and we just got a piece of it.
Question for you.
Okay.
If part of it's in Bellevue, part of it's in Green Bay, does Bellevue, do you interact with Bellevue to try to create a, or is it just our portion of the property period that you're dealing with, or does Bellevue interact with us to try to get, the the assessment, and do they object against Bellevue and us, or are they involved at all?
We have our own hearings. We try to be consistent as far as our values go. I mean, obviously the same building, they're attached, so we're consistent that way. But as far as objecting to the values, we have individual hearings. They have to object to our value in Green Bay, and they have to object to Bellevue's assessment at a different hearing in Bellevue.
Are you continuing negotiations with them?
I would assume so. Once, this is generally, as you all know, with commercial property, the hearing at board review is generally just a formality, and then between board review and any litigation, there's generally a period of time where there's a back and forth between the appellant and the local jurisdiction as to coming to some sort of agreement as to value.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion to waive this property, to agree to the waiver of this property. The circuit court is where we're going, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Azier. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'd second.
Okay, thank you. Second by, I believe, Mr. Antono. All those in favor of waiving?
Well, let's call the roll. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Absolutely. Just give me one moment. Wait. Okay. Mr. Azier?
Yes.
And Mr. Laurent?
Yes.
And Mr. Antono?
Aye.
Thank you. That is passed. 1300 Guns Road is waived to circuit court. And next we have 2430 East Mason.
Would the assessor, do we have a legal description of that, or is just the?
Actually, this is Steve from the assessor's office. The parcel number is 21-126-11. We do have a certified survey map, map number 7461. Description for this property.
What is that parcel?
Parcel number 21.
No, I mean, what is actual what is the property?
The former Shopko store.
Oh, Shopko. Okay, thank you.
Shopko East.
In the East Town Mall, or
Yes. Correct.
Okay, again, we have a waiver. I would entertain a motion to waive this piece of property, circuit court.
I'd so move.
We have a second.
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Absolutely. Mr. Azier?
Yes.
Mr. Laurent?
Yes.
Mr. Antono?
Aye.
Thank you. That is passed.
Okay, we don't have any, since we waived that, that was the only one I think where we were looking at, or maybe it was the Walmart one, we were looking at possible telephone presentation, but since we waived that, we don't have to worry about that now. And I don't think we have any other waivers that I could see. And are there any other ones that we know of? Okay, then let's take a look at the, we have, when are the witnesses scheduled to appear for the three objections we have?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Azier. We have the Highland Center Drive was scheduled for 9:25. 1820 Main was scheduled for 9:45. 2515 West Mason was scheduled for 10:30, and 142 North Broadway was scheduled for 11:15.
Okay, do we have the Highlands, what is it, Highland Center Drive?
Yes.
Here?
Thank you. Let me find out. Mr. and Mrs. Deering, are you in the meeting? Mr. or Mrs. Deering, are you in the meeting? One more time, Mr. and Mrs. Deering, are you in the meeting? Okay, Chairperson Deerings are present in this meeting.
They would, I wonder, is our attorney still here?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Attorney Bungert?
Could we consider, since they were scheduled for 9:25, is that correct?
That is correct.
And it is now 9:35 or 9:36 and they're not here. Could we consider that a no-show by now, or should we? I guess if they would show up later on, we could consider whether or not taking the case.
Correct. Yes, it would be up to the discretion of the board. Just wanted to verify with the clerk that notice was given within the proper time frame.
Yes, it was.
If so, yes. Then if
and
so,
I
then,
had actually physically spoken to them as well. Indeed.
Okay.
What time scheduled for?
So I had scheduled them for 9:25, but of course I did tell everyone that the hearing began at 9 o'clock.
Okay, 9:25. So it's well past that.
Yes.
Now they're about 10 or 12 minutes late.
It would be up to the discretion of the board whether to hold this item until the end of the meeting, and if they don't show up, to then essentially issue your determination, or whether you would wish to proceed with the determination.
Well, wouldn't that be, would not be a determination actually, because there would not be a hearing, correct?
Yeah, if
Correct.
there's no hearing, there's no determination, so.
Right.
I think what I'm gonna recommend we do is we won't close it off at this time. We'll just, we'll consider it again, what action we want to take at the end of the meeting. If they don't show by then, within a reasonable time, then I think we'll discuss it further and probably vote on, approving the assessor's value of that property. I think we'll do that now. Now the next one was Fox Community Credit Union. And what is their scheduled time?
Their scheduled time is 9:45.
Okay, so we got, are they here? Do we
5
know?
minutes.
Is there someone here from Fox Communities Credit Union, 1820 Main Street? That would be someone from Roger Wolf, Fairfax Tax Consulting, Fair Tax rather, Consulting. I did receive some documents from them this morning, actually. Some more documents, actually. So is there anyone here for 1820? It's possible that they're going to hop on in 5 minutes.
Okay, well, why don't we take a 5-minute break or so and come back and.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, so are you entertaining a motion to take a break?
I don't think we need a motion, do we, for that?
Do we need a motion for that, Joanne?
Yes, anytime we are not on the record, we should be just taking a motion to recess for 5 minutes, returning at 9:45.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn for about a 5-minute break.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. We'll reconvene at 9:45, 9:46 now.
I'm up next, right?
I think so. That's the 1820 Main.
Going all right?
Wait, let me mute myself.
Celestine, you're
Yes, yes, yeah, I'm about to mute myself. Thank you, Diana. I'm just about to mute myself.
Yeah, just a sound check. Roger Wolf is on this Zoom call, Fairtax Consulting.
Roger, this is Diana. Yes, I can hear you.
Good. Good morning.
Good morning. We were on a short few-minute break, and then we'll be going back into live in a few minutes.
Okay. I'm good.
Who's here now?
So Roger Wolf is on hold, Fairtax Consulting.
Okay, thank you, everyone. It is now 9:47. Would you?
We'll call the Board of Review back in session. We do have an objector here, I understand.
Yeah, Roger Wolf. I'm not sure I like being called an objector, though. It's okay.
And you're representing?
So I work for Nikki Schomburg, CFO of Fox Commercial Credit Union.
Okay, and you'll be testifying today?
Correct.
Anybody with you that'll be testifying?
No, it's just me.
Okay, would the clerk please swear in the objector?
Mr. Azier. And Mr. Wolf, can you please raise your right hand? I know I can't see you, but raise your right hand and state your name. Say I, and then state your name.
I, Roger Wolf.
Do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States.
Do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin.
And the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin.
And I also swear that.
And I also swear that.
The evidence and testimony I shall give.
The evidence and testimony I shall give.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the
truth. Thank you very much, Mr. Wolf. You may proceed.
Would you spell your last name for the record, just to make sure we have it correct?
Sure, it's W-O-L-F-F.
Okay, thank you. The procedure today is you will present your testimony, and then the assessor's office will have a right to, and then board members will have a right to ask you questions. Then the assessor's office will present their evidence. You can ask them questions. We can also ask them questions. You'll have a time for rebuttal and closing, and then we'll vote. So you may present your evidence at this time.
Oh, thank you. Who am I speaking with, by the way? Are you the...
Myself, I'm Tom Azier. I'm the chairman of the Board of Review.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
We have two other board members here.
Okay.
Along with the city attorney, the city clerk, and somebody from the assessor's office.
Okay. So thanks, Tom. So everyone, I have a company, Fairtax Consulting, and we're a research company. I'm a math guy. We work for commercial clients to research whether or not the assessment by the municipal assessor is fair and equitable. And we were hired by Nikki Schomburg, who is the CFO of Fox Communities. They did some analysis of the 22 locations that they own. And the one in Green Bay, subject of matter, 1820 Main Street, was on their list for us to research. So what we did, Tom, is we use several resources that we pay fees to research sold comparables. One of the interesting things is the primary research tool we use is a national company called CoStar. They track all of the commercial sales in the state of Wisconsin. And we do a lot of work in the credit union industry. And it's interesting when you go on to their data, the sales range from $100 a square foot to $600 a square foot. So the complexity of my job is to follow Chapter 70, which prescribes that the municipal assessor in section 70.32 is to assess the property at its most recent sale, which in this case, there was not a sale. And then secondarily, to assess it based on recent arm's length sales. So guys, what our task is to try to find properties within a similar size, location, age, and a number of other tools, some of which are very objective. The objective nature are the square footage of the property, for instance, the size of the lot, traffic studies, and then the subjective part of it, which the art part of it is maybe architecture, access to the property, and the real estate assessment business is trying to find identical snowflakes. Unfortunately, in the commercial business, there are no two properties that are exactly alike. So my job and what I've given you to review are properties that most closely resemble sales for 1820 Main Street. So you should have a exhibit, what I will call exhibit number 1, which has 3 comparable sales to it. And if you have that to page 6, that's probably where I'll spend a minute just directing our research. So Tom, does everyone have this exhibit? Direct them to page 6 of that document?
I don't think we have the document, do we?
So, Mr. Wolf, I did receive some documents from you yesterday,
Yes.
Which I had not included in the agenda. So what I have, so what they have is your testify, your objection to real property assessment, and then your agent authorization. And then the documents that you sent me yesterday, which I did not have an opportunity to include in the packet. Let me just pull this up if you give me a moment. So I have 1820 Main Street submittal 2021. Is that the document to which you're referring, or comp or CoStar?
So the first document is the one I'm referring to. Okay. And so, particularly page 6 of that document.
Okay, thank you. If you just give me a moment, what I can do is screen share this document.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I know that Mr. Azier and Mr. Document, Mr. Lawrence, are you able to see this document?
No.
And are you able to open up your email? I believe I sent it to you.
I can't, it'll take me a while. My machine is old and slow, but I'll do that now.
Okay, so let me just send this to you.
I'm old and slow too.
Well, you're here and we appreciate you so much. So Mr. Wolf, why don't you go ahead and continue your presentation? I'll go to page 6.
Okay.
Which is this comparable summary. Is that the one you're looking at?
Yes, thank you. Perfect.
Okay. You're well sure that Mr. Lawrence has this document in his email. Thank you very much.
Is everyone ready for me to share some thoughts on this page?
Please go ahead.
So this page is a summary of the entire document. And what we're doing is just creating a spreadsheet comparing the subject property 1820 and the square footage and square footage of the building and of the lot, and doing an all-in analysis of how the assessor is assessing that on a per square foot basis. We do this because it's real objective information. It's from the property record card that the assessor has on all properties in Green Bay. And this particular property, when you do that, is assessed at $269 a square foot. And then what I've done, taken sales, we try to do it in a 25-mile radius, so we're working in a similar valuation. And I have 3 different sales. and then we used the same method, and these 3 different properties sold between $79 and $248 per square foot. So then my request, guys, is for the Board of Review and the assessor to consider a reduction to what other similar properties are selling for. So my request is for a reduction, an all-in reduction from $269 a square foot to $164 a square foot, which is an average of those sales. So then the request is for a tax assessment reduction from $1,282,000 to $782,000. And I am going to stop there. And if your procedure is to allow questions here, I'll certainly do that. Otherwise, there is one other document that I would ask the clerk to bring up.
Does the assessor's office have any questions on this document that we're looking at now?
Well, I have a couple of questions. I don't notice any adjustments for usage. I assume that they're all continued use as credit unions.
To my knowledge, that is correct. And this is Scott, right?
No, this is the assessor.
Oh.
Our indication is that only one of those is continuing use as a credit union. The other 2 are not. They're being used as office buildings. So the only comparable one is comparable 3, which is continued use as a credit union. Comparable 1 and comparable 2 have switched back to office use.
Okay. That could be true.
Well, it is true. We have access to CoStar also. We have a subscription to it. So we've done our research on it. And those 2 first comparables are not comparable in our opinion.
Then we'll just, Russ, I respect that, but I would disagree. In fact, comparable number 2 is actually a sale of one of the Fox Communities Credit Union properties. That is very comparable. And if you look at it, the porte cochere, the drive-through, I would argue and ask the board to consider these as comparable sales. But Russ, you have your own.
Who did it sell for? I guess who did it sell to?
So if you go further into the document, and I will tell you that on So this was a sale, Russ, sold by Fox Communities Credit Union to Green Bay Packaging.
Right. It wasn't on the open market. It was because Green Bay Packaging sold that to Fox Community Credit Union, and Green Bay Packaging bought it back from them.
Okay.
Without it being on the open market.
Okay.
So that in itself is not an open market sale, so it's not a comparable.
Okay. Any other questions on this document?
No, actually, I do have a question though on your objection to, I mean, going back to your objection to property assessment. I mean, if we can do that for a moment.
Go ahead.
You have under section 4, the acquisition price was $1.3 million back in 2008. And then under section B, it says any changes made to the property, and you said no. That is incorrect. because this property was, the property that was there that they paid $1.3 million for was torn down, and this building was constructed in 2015, so it was built in 2015. So that is all incorrect. You have no information under that part, so you're totally ignoring the fact that this is a newer building. So you didn't fill out the objection correctly.
Yeah, and Russ, that certainly was not a intentional omission. What I was trying to share with you there was that since the property was built, there were no improvements that we were made aware of. So,
no, it wasn't built in 2008. What you have on here was acquisition of 2008. It wasn't acquired in 2008. It was acquired in 2008. You ignored the fact that the property was torn down that was there and rebuilt as a new building. So you totally ignored the fact that they built a new credit union on that site, and you guys did not include any of the construction costs that were there. So that is something the board should be aware of. So if you have the construction costs in 2015, that's something that should be shared with the board.
Yes, Russ, and in our communication prior to this meeting, I asked you to provide evidence of what you used to value the property, and also asked you if there was any other information you needed to consider this. And first, I've heard from you that you wanted construction costs. So
it's on the form. That's part of the form. So when you don't fill out the form properly, I mean, that's something that's not on me, that's on you.
Understood.
So what are the actual construction costs of the building in 2015?
I don't have that information, Russ.
Well, I think that's pretty important, since we're discussing a fairly new building.
Yep. I wish you would have asked me for that, and I would have provided.
You did. That's part of the information that's requested on the objection form. We did ask for that.
Okay, understood.
Okay, any other questions from the assessor's office?
Steve, do you have any questions?
No, I'm fine at this point.
Okay.
Any questions from any board member?
Nope.
Okay. We will now have the assessor present the information. Would the assessor start off by providing the parcel number, legal description of the property, parcel number, the assessed value of the property by the assessor's office, please? And Steve, are you going to present? I know you've been sworn in before, but I think for the record, I'd like the clerk just to swear you in each time we have you or Russ testify. So would the clerk please swear in the assessor?
Yes, absolutely. I just had to unmute myself. Thank you, Mr. Schwant and Mr. Shepro. Can you please raise your right hands? Say aye and state your name.
Aye, Russ Schwant.
Do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin.
I do.
And I also do solemnly swear to present evidence and testify truthfully in these proceedings.
I do.
And also to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you very much.
Okay, please start by providing the parcel number and the assessed value of the property, please.
My name is Stephen Shepro here, one of the commercial appraisers for the city. The property record review is for Fox Community Credit Union, parcel number 21-1325-1. It is located at 1820 Main Street here in Green Bay. Some of the information and the introduction we put together when we're requested to do a review for a property. is we do look at all three approaches as we do throughout the year on every commercial property. This one here, it's like I said, is Fox Community Credit Union. The square footage of it is 4,756 square foot, and it's a one-story building with no basement. It was built in 2015 as a bank, credit union bank. Our assessed value of the land is $523,500. The improvements would be $759,200. Total value assessed for 2021 is $1,282,700. This property here, as Russ brought up in previous question, this property was purchased in 2008 for $1.3 million. And I don't know if they leased out or just sat for that many years. But anyway, it ended up being torn down in 2014, and a new bank was built with a permit amount of $1.1 million to build the bank. And just as a reminder, we're sitting at $759,000 at this point. When we value stuff in the city, we stay with our modeling basically. So all banks, all office buildings, all retail, we're trying to use the same cost guide. So we make sure that we stay consistent throughout. So we're not picking and choosing and changing. The only difference on this one being a little bit newer is going to have less depreciation than some. On the next page, on page 4, we our cost approach. If the clerk would like to pull that up, you can, the report. The cost approach we did show in there is basically our breakdown on how we got to 1.282,700. That's pretty much self-explanatory for every building. It takes the square footage and calculates it out based on similar properties here in the city. The next page would be page 5, which is a sketch of the building. So it gives us the square footage, the overall. There is a mechanical area on the second.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shepherd, just give me 1 second to pull up. I'm sorry, there was something going on down here in the clerk's office, so my attention was drawn away from you for a moment. Can you repeat the document you'd like me to share?
Yeah, property review report.
Property review report.
Now, when I get to this one, the first one, it doesn't.
That would be what Nicole just said.
1820 main submittal 2021, that one?
Oh, that was his.
No, that's mine. That's the objector. So forgive me, so sorry, like I said, there's something going on down here in the clerk's office. So these are the documents that Nicole sent, and it is, let's see, 21-13, 25-1 assessor packet.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your cooperation and patience. I appreciate that. Here we go. All right, I am screen sharing. And Steve, if you would be so kind as to be very explicative about what you're talking about, since I'm not sure that Attorney Laurent can see the document.
Yes. So after we got done looking at the cost approach, which is probably least reliable, but being a newer building, cost depreciation is definitely a good indication. But as I say, we do look at all three approaches for appraisal. We do look at the cost, the market approach. We don't average things, we do weight them based on the best information we have. That's how we're supposed to be doing it as appraisers based on Chapter 70 in our manual. Anyway, after our sketch page, we put a page 6, which is the income approach. Since this is owner occupied, we don't have lease. We're not given any lease amounts on this. Basically, we went to CoStar, which we also, there was one sale in Appleton, and we had, it was 9.4% cap rate on that one, and a market 28. In the field for a number of years, we've seen them as low as 22 and maybe as high as $36 a square foot. I have. So we did use what they average because we like to try to do all three approaches. And as you look, we just put it in there exactly what we got from CoStar. It was $28 a square foot, 5% vacancy and loss, 15% for expenses, which maybe be high, about 10, but 15 is the norm. and then the 9.4 cap rate, we came out to 1.144 thousand or 1,144,000 total value based on income for us, because it was not given actual numbers. We have to use market numbers. The next page, when you go on to page 7, is the comp page that we used on this here. And our number 1 comp basically is at 2614 West Mason Street. This is the one that's on the corner of Packerland and West Mason. We've actually discussed this one in the past. And this one here sold for $1 million back in, I'm sorry, back up a little bit. It sold for 1.735 back in 2019, which is $392.89 a square foot. This is an older building, beautiful location as far as, definitely older, but a really busy intersection. And that's what's coming up with banks. This one was built in 1983 compared to our subject property, which was 2015. Sale number 2 is this one was sold in 2016 for $2,216,000. This one's at 2223 Main Street. This is also a BMO Harris Bank on Main Street. This is a larger building, very older type, basically 1974. But it was in the city here, and we did use it. So that one came up at $297.73 a square foot. The third sale we have is in Ashwaubenon, outside the city limits. We ended up getting the information from the assessor over there, 2403 Oneida Street. And if anyone remembers, this is in front of the old Shopko building on Bay Park Square. There was an Associated Bank right there. They sold it to, now it's called Rain. This building also was built in 1979. And because of the good location there and stuff, it did sell for $1,620,000 in 2018 for $497.32 a square foot. The fourth one we just brought up as far as in Appleton. We did get this information from the city of Appleton. This was on Caitlin Ave. This one here is 2014, about the same age. It is quite a bit larger bank, but it's $1,750,000, which is $237.90 a square foot, which is very comparable when you look as the square footage gets larger, just like land, the value per square foot would go down. So I feel like our 4 comps we're looking at, we're not trying to find the highest, we're not trying to look at the lowest, we're trying to find what's out there that's similar to it in this market. And then on page 8, we looked at the comps, and I'm not sure if Mr. Wolf, if he reviewed any of the comps or the subject property, but comp number 1 in Swamico on Lineville Road, this was Nicolay Bay, was a motivated seller. There's a deed restriction that was put on it. There's also an easement, but there's a deed restriction. It can't be used as a bank. That totally affects the sale of that property. You're taking a building that was built as a bank and now probably can only be used as an office or whatever. So we don't feel like an arm's length transaction. It could have been on the sale, but the use was restricted. Second comp on Weiss Street, and I'm sorry, but I've been working here for about 18 years doing commercial. I had to look that one up. It was. This is off of Webster up there, or over towards Green Bay Packaging. And this building here, I've been to this one a number of times because it is kind of unique. If you look at the objector's information and photos, you can see on the back side, it actually has a second floor portion that overhangs the canopy to drive through. And it's kind of a really odd building. And it is not in a good location. This building was built for Green Bay Packaging as their credit unit, which is a lot of things that happen with paper mills or anything businesses like this. They will build one for their members, very close to their thing. It was not intended to be a market property. When they purchased this property a while back from Green Bay Packaging, I think they realized that basically the location, there was no drive-by, there was no traffic on there. So we feel the connection, why it went back to Green Bay Packaging and what kind of deal. It was not put on the market. We don't feel like this is a valid sale either. This was something trying to find something that would justify their side. On Hanson Road, if you're familiar with this, this would be going, I would believe it's west off of out there. This also, it's not bad. Hanson Road is not too bad of a location. But however, it is not on the same traffic pattern as everything else that we would compare to on Main Street here. So we sell for $1 million, which is $240.
Okay, thank you.
And then we just also, no, I guess that's it. That's all I had. So.
Okay. Mr. Wolf, do you have any questions of the assessor?
No, Tom, I'm good.
Okay, does any board member have any questions of the assessor? Okay, Mr. Wolf, would you like to make any closing statements?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And I guess the question for the board of review and their discussion is, in all of the sold comps that the assessor presented and what I presented is which ones are appropriate to set the value for this. And my position is that my work is more appropriate for, and that the comps that the assessor used are of a higher nature and not appropriate. So I will rest my case there, Tom.
Thank you. Does the assessor like to make a closing comment?
I don't really have any questions, and I like I said, I totally disagree because there was no questions on my comps. We definitely had questions on the objectors' comps, and that does happen because sometimes they're not familiar with the market here as we are. We are working on a reval for the city, and so we've been very familiar with these properties and locations and which ones, you know, the traffic patterns and the counts for traffic. Nothing comparable to this one on Limekiln in Maine. It's right at the intersection there. Good visibility. That's why they paid $1.3 million for the property and then tear down the building and spend another $1.1 million for to build a building. So I think having a value overall on the property is $1,282,700, which has been on the roll here since 2016. The value has not changed since then. And so I feel it's a fair assessment.
Thank you. Just for a comment, and anyone else from the board can enter into a discussion. I think it was important to find out that the building on this property was constructed in 2015, even though the property was acquired back in 2008. I think that does, in fact, put a higher value on the property than we may have originally thought if we thought the building was constructed. I also thought that the comparables and the market value approach of the assessor's office appeared to be more in line with the assessed value of this property. Does any other board member have any other discussion before we take a vote? Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept the assessed value of this property at 1820 Main Street, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Azier?
Yes.
Mr. Laurent?
Yes.
Mr. Antonow?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion has passed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Do we have our next objector, which is 2515 West Mason Street?
Yes, thank you. If there is someone here for 2515 West Mason Street, please unmute yourself and state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Steve Jensen. I'm here representing the property for Property Tax Solutions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Would the assessor please read for the record the parcel number and appraised value of this piece of property?
Yeah, this is Steve speaking here. This is a multi-tenant retail building located 2515. Okay. Parcel number is 6. And
You're breaking up, Steve.
Yeah, I'm getting all kinds of interference.
I can probably read that better. Parcel number is 6H1112-D. Assessed value, land 598,500. Improvements 1,579,500. Total of 2,178,000.
Okay, thank you. With the objector, are you the only person going to testify?
Yes, I will be.
Okay, would the clerk please swear the objector in?
Thank you. Mr. Jensen, can you raise your right hand, please? I know I can't see you, but please do so. You can just say I do after the statements. I, Steve Jensen, do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin and the United States of America. Go ahead.
I do.
And do you solemnly swear that the evidence and testimony you will give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Sir, would you please state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes, it's Steve Jensen, Jenson.
Okay, Mr. Jensen, you'll be able to present your oral testimony on why you believe that the assessed value of this property should be less than that of the assessor's office. When you're done, the assessor may ask you questions on your testimony and any evidence that you may present. Then we as the board members may ask you questions also. That the assessor will then present their oral testimony as to the value and assessed value of the property that they set. Upon completion of that, you may ask any questions of the assessor that you would like. Then the board members will ask any questions if we have any. Upon completion of that, we'll have closing arguments by both you and the assessor, and then the board will vote on any motions that we have. So at this time, you may present your oral testimony and any evidence you have as to the assessed value of, as to what you believe the assessed value of this property should be.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and to the assessor. This property is going to be a lot easier to discuss and I'm not sure if you have our information packets available there to you.
Yes, the board was given the packet that you had provided, which includes your objection and some comparables, some photos. Yes.
Okay, great, wonderful. So to make this a little bit easier on everybody, we can go ahead and just turn to page.
Question on agent authorization on this is if he's authorized for the property. That was supposed to be dealt with, I believe. And I don't know if Russ has any questions on this, but I think Steve is the agent for Petco. They are not the owners of the building. They are just a tenant in the building. Am I correct?
Yes, that is true. And we were working on getting the new owner, to sign the affidavit or to sign the agent authorization. Unfortunately, we did not get it in time.
So you are not authorized to speak for the building.
And this was about 2 weeks ago.
Yes, and again, I'm not here to dispute the law. In fact, and if that is the case, I have no problem withdrawing the appeal And again, I was more or less here to learn more about the Wisconsin state law and how this happens. We do PetSmarts and Pet Coast to Coast, and it is very rare that on these triple net leases, that the leasee is not able to contest or question the valuation of the property. And again, this property was just purchased by a new owner, and which we do admit that it was a probably under market sale. But that was always a question for the company, is that it was sold out, and we were not able to get a hold of the new owners to sign the agent authorization. And with that being said, I will be gracious to pull the appeal and thank the board and thank the assessor.
All right, we appreciate that. I mean, actually, the sale was over a year ago. I mean, it was in 2020, so there was plenty of time to contact the current owner. And we don't have a problem dealing with triple net lease tenants as long as they get permission from the owner. And like Steve said, there was plenty of time to contact the owner to get that permission, but we have not received that. So in this case, we would rather not hear the case because we still have other tenants that would be involved in this. So it would be my wish the board not hear this case.
Yeah, the objector withdrew the appeal, so I don't think you even have to have a motion on it. I think
no,
that should take care of it. So
okay.
And again, I just wanted to thank the board and the assessor and the city for even just speaking with us and going through the process. It's a learning process for us all, for every state, and so I really just appreciate your time today. And it's a lot of information. So I thank you for your time today.
Stephen, if you wish, talk to the owner, and you can still contact us. Every year stands on its own, and we'll be willing to talk with you and the owner at a future date for next year. That would be fine.
Yeah, no problem. And again, I know I apologize. Once I talked to Mr. Alvey and he explained the actual complexity of the state law, that's when I went through and started trying to hammer the new owners. Unfortunately, we did. And again, this was something we didn't even take into consideration until Mr. Alvey had let us know. And again, I just appreciate all the hard work and everything that everyone's done.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Everyone have a great day.
You too.
I would, can we take about a 5-minute break, then come back for the last case? What time is 142 North Broadway scheduled?
Mr. Asher, they are scheduled at 11:15.
Oh, for quite a while yet.
Yes. But okay, I can.
Why don't you want to take a break until
sure,
maybe 11?
Are they here yet, or are they online, or?
So let me. Mr. Kohlenberg, are you on the Zoom call? Mr. Asher, Chairman, he is very responsive. And I think if we just take a 10 or 15-minute break, I can probably contact him and have him come a little early.
Let's do that. Why don't we take a break until 10:45? How's that?
Okay, sounds perfect. And that's a motion to take a break.
So do we have a motion to take a break?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All righty. We are adjourned until 10:45. Thank you.
really put you on hold after. I didn't even know this area existed. I've got the role, the assessment role that we were talking about earlier. Do you have a minute? I know we're on break. You got time? Sure, I'll be here.
Oh, I didn't mute that. Mute my.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, bye-bye.
Good morning. Hello?
Okay,
Hi,
when we're ready
hi,
to
Gary.
resume, we will go ahead. And then I also got in touch with the Deerings and they'll come at 11 o'clock. Thank you. I'll wait until we're back in session.
Hey, Russ, are you on? Do we know, anybody know who's building that house, the Frank Lloyd Wright house on the Carlton property?
Oh, down the block from you there?
Yeah.
I haven't been in it yet because they've been still working on it, but I think it's a younger couple from my understanding.
Somebody said that they had a house on the other side of the bay and it burnt. And they were looking.
Yeah, I heard that too.
And they were looking for, you know, a place to put a house. And of course that one was available.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised how they built that up.
Well, you know what happened? They went to dig a basement and it was too wet. And so they couldn't put the basement in. So they put the slab and then decided to build it up so they could at least, you know, get a good view over. You know, we all had so much damage to our shoreline last year. And they put, I think they're on their third wall down there.
Good thing I don't assess those walls. You know, I should think about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, you shouldn't.
I mean, that is something that's kind of been, I've been looking at that because I've seen a lot of those boulders go in over the past several years. But I figure it's just a cost of doing business, living on the shore. Wow. And I have them in front of my house too. So I'm thankful that the assessor in my township doesn't pick those up either.
I don't know if you've ever seen my property, but I have about 15 feet high there. And it took out at least a 20 by 20 hunk of my hill.
Wow.
High water and winds. And I mean, I ended up spending $70,000 to get the dang thing shored up, but it's not going to go anywhere now, you know?
Yeah,
most of it was lucky. Still a hole.
Okay, Mr. Azier, it is 10:45, and if you're ready to resumed, and I am too. I think we need a motion to return to regular order. Is that correct, Attorney Bungert?
Well, we'll take one. Do we have a motion to, I'll make a motion that we return to the hearing.
I'll second.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
All right, we have a representative now from 142 North Broadway.
I'm right there, and that's 3589.
Yes, we do. Mr. Kohlenberg, can you please, you are muted, so you are ready to speak then.
Good morning.
Kohlenberg, you're representing the owner of this property?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would you please raise your hand and we'll have the clerk swear you in?
Yes, so before we go down that path, what I would like to do is I would like to withdraw the objection. However, I would like to reach out to the board and to the assessor. May I do that?
Attorney Bungert, should, before Mr. Kohlenberg speaks, even though he's withdrawing, should I still swear him in?
I haven't withdrawn yet.
Okay, so before he speaks, shall I swear him in? You're muted.
Are you, Mr. Kohlenberg, you're not providing testimony at this time, right?
Correct.
Okay, you may speak without swearing in then.
Just informational. If it's just informational, then he doesn't need to be sworn in. But if he's providing any factual information, that's fine.
Thank you, Chairperson and Attorney.
Okay, we can have go ahead and as long as you're not talking about the excess value, but it's just a discussion, Mr. Kohlenberg, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Members of the board, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Gary Kohlenberg. I represent the property of 142 Broadway. And what I wanted to do is just tell you a little bit about my experience. I had, within plenty of time, reached out to the City of Green Bay assessor's office and submitted documentation. And my goal was to discuss the property with the assessor's office. However, I had asked them when I submitted it, and this was through email, when I submitted it, after I had submitted it, and I think there was a follow-up phone call requesting a discussion. And essentially what they said was, we will give you feedback after open book closes. And the conclusion was, and I just wanted to know, what are their thoughts on the property? Why did they arrive at that value? What were their opinions of my calculations? There was no feedback at all until after the Board of Review and after the Board of, I'm sorry, until after open book. And after open book, they said, we're not changing the value. If you dispute it, you can go to Board of Review. So there was absolutely no feedback. And I just think that open book, I know what open book is. It's a time for communication. There was none. There wasn't any during open book. There wasn't any after open book. It just was a final decision. Now go to Board of Review. And so I just want to express my concerns about that. At this point, I'd like to withdraw my objection for 142. And I can tell you, members of the board, it was not my intention to withdraw this morning. However, in preparing for the Board of Review over the last 2 days, I do agree with the assessor's opinion. I just do not agree with the way that it was handled. That's all I want to let the board know.
So your call was just to complain, basically.
I'm speaking to the board.
You said you're speaking to the board and to the assessor's office, so I included myself in that. So if you, my office.
That's all I have to say.
I'm not finished, so you don't have to interrupt. I'm speaking now. My office has dealt with you over many years. And over those years, you have always waited to the last minute to submit. And this year you waited till, and my clerk can confirm this, when our board was going to be back in May, you waited till 2 o'clock in the morning of the last minute to submit information, seeing that you could probably catch us with only 48-hour rule. Since we had to adjourn it to a later date, now you complain that we weren't going to play fair with you. Well, seeing how we just you agreed with our value, I guess there's nothing to really complain about because our value is correct. So I guess in this instance, we had nothing to discuss. Our value was fair and equitable. So there was no reason to discuss your, I don't know what you would call them, but your valuation workings or whatever. But our value, we felt comfortable with, and rather than go through a long discussion, which they always turn out to be, we felt that if you didn't agree with it, to go to the board review, which is our right. And we don't have to get into long discussions. So whether you like it or not, that's how we operate. That's how a lot of assessors offices operate. It doesn't matter. We don't want to get into arguments. And so in this instance, my staff decided that the best way to operate was to just say, if you don't like our value, you have the right and the ability to go to the board review. And that's what was afforded to you. So I'm not sure why that would be a bad thing. You were afforded your rights, and obviously you're here. So not sure what more we can do for you.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond? I'd like to speak to the board, not necessarily to the assessor. This was never addressed to the assessor. This was addressed to the board. May I respond?
Sure.
Thank you. So the issue is that there is an obligation on the part of the assessor to communicate with the property owners. And I had submitted my opinion of value during open book, plenty of time. I think it even preceded open book. And there was zero communication until after open book had closed. And I too am a certified assessor. I understand the rules and I understand what was done and what's proper. And really the best measure is what's in the assessor's manual. And the assessor's manual calls for communication. It doesn't say if you had disagreements with a property owner or a property tax rep in the past, you can violate the assessor's manual rules. And that's what happened. I contacted them during open book. They didn't respond until after open book was closed. And the response was basically go to board. There was no communication. That's my whole point.
You know, just let me state that there was communication, and the communication was that they were not going to change the assessed value of this property from $1,179,700, and that they were going to leave it at that, and that if you did not like that assessed value, you could come to the board of review. So that to me is a communication. Whether it's a communication that you like, it's a communication, and it would have complied with their manual. We're not in here to really determine whether or not the manual was applied or not. We're in here to determine whether the assessed value of the property is correct or not. And you are waiving your objection, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then fine. Then since the objection, or you're not waiving, you're withdrawing it. I'm sorry, withdrawing it.
Correct.
Okay, not waiving it would be sending it to direct circuit court. You just want to withdraw it.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Very good. Is there anything else?
Nope. Thank you very much. Okay, we have one more order of business, and that's to go back to the Deerings. Did we ever get a hold of the Deerings, or did they ever come to the Zoom call?
Thank you, Chairman Azier. I did actually receive an email from the Deerings, and I responded. I also had since I was on the phone, I had one of my staff members contact the Deerings by telephone, and they left a voicemail message. I did say that they could come at 11 o'clock. So let me if you just give me one moment to check my email to see if they had responded. And unfortunately, they did not yet respond. So I'm hoping that they will come in the next 5 minutes. But Mr. Antono does have, I don't know if he had a chance in this quick time frame to look at the assessment roll, but we did have a staff member from the assessor's office provide the assessment roll via laptop to him. So if you want to take that time now to go back to that item, perhaps this is a good time.
But I have to go back down there after we're done, because what he brought up was only half of it. So I'm going down to the assessor's office. They told me to go back down there after this, and they will show me the other half.
Oh, okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Antono. We have a member of the assessor's office going upstairs to Mr. Antono to give him some assistance on the laptop. So I think there's everything in there, but I didn't see it myself. So yes.
Okay, good. Then
so what is your pleasure, Mr. Azier?
We can have we can pass over that, I think, since it was we did review the rolls, or someone did take a look at the rolls. And would you like to make a Ron? Would you like to make a motion to accept the review of the rolls?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, okay. Mr. Azier, just give me 1 second to go back to that item. All right, so Mr. Antono makes a motion to accept the rolls.
Examination of the rolls, yeah.
And then the second was from?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Azier. And would you like a roll call or voice vote?
Voice vote's fine.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? All right, thank you. That is accepted.
Why don't we go ahead and cover M and N while we're waiting for the Dearings at 11 o'clock, if that's okay.
Yes, it certainly is. Give me, okay, thank you. Just give me one moment. I'm so sorry. Go right ahead.
Possible action of notices, intent to file objections received by the assessor. Do we have any notices of intent?
Other than the ones
that we haven't heard or any?
No.
Do we have any waivers of the 48-hour notice?
No, we do not.
Okay, those two are completed. So the only thing left now is if the Dearings come, huh?
Yes. That is correct.
Do we have any personal property?
Guess what? No. Good thing you're sitting down.
No damage or what?
No clerks, no corrections or anything. It's I think it's a first that we have not had any personal property, and I give kudos to my staff for being up on it and correcting those. So so far this year we are good to go, but that doesn't mean we won't get some after tax bills go out again. But so far this year we are pretty good. I mean, they've been right on it, and the finance office also has been, as they come in, we've been correcting those that have gone through. So it's been working really well. So we haven't had to do this where we have to go through the board review to correct anything. So thank goodness, staff has been really well, done a good job. Kudos to them.
I don't think I remember not having some corrections.
No, and of all years to do it, and that speaks well of how well they've been working from home and from the office to do this type of work. So a lot of tough stuff they've been going through.
You know, even if you look at you know, the objections this year, we don't have, you know, we've had years where we've had many more, especially commercial objections, even though we gave them right to circuit court.
Yep. and give a lot of credit to Forward Appraisal too for, I don't care what Gary Kohlenberg says, my staff has worked diligently with anybody that calls in, and Celestine can say this too and back me up. He tried to do a backdoor thing where at the last minute drop objections on us at 2 o'clock in the morning, 48 hours prior to the first hearing, thinking that we were going to have that board review back in May. And then for him to say that we weren't going to work with him at open book is like, yeah, well, if you had something to discuss, we would discuss it with you, but none of your information is relevant to the value that we have on it. And we're confident in our value. And if you don't agree with us, you can go to the board. And that's what we told him. And that's what we've told him year after year. But he thinks we ought to sit down and listen to his arguments over and over again. And no, but then it comes down to come to the board review. He slams my office and then agrees with our value. So I guess I don't understand what his whole point is.
Yeah, what's he gonna talk about if he agrees with your assessment?
Well, if he agrees with my assessment, shouldn't he be patting me on the back instead of trying to hit me?
Well, what's he talking about? I mean, obviously there's nothing to talk about if he agrees with the assessment.
Well, I think what he may have found out is that I was going through his objection form, and kind of like the last one with the bank or the credit union, I was looking at it and he neglected to add a little bit of the remodeling that was done. And this was Pizza Garage, the bicycle shop downtown. And he missed one of the permits for $650,000. So they bought the building for quite a bit and then they remodeled it. Well, he says they bought it and then they remodeled it for like $770,000, but they actually bought it and remodeled it for like $1.4 million. So there, and he's asking for the value to be quite a bit less than that. So I don't know, you can justify it. I think he finally actually looked at his own numbers and went, oops. Well, his other property that he had on Packerland that was originally scheduled to be heard, he missed 70,000 square feet of the building. And then we were actually going to let him come to the hearing and embarrass him just to show that he doesn't really know what he's doing. But Nicole from Forward felt sorry for him and sent him the information. That's why he withdrew that appeal. But then he after that, after we gave him that information that he had to begin with, told him that he kind of messed up. I guess he still felt the need to trash the people that helped him out. So I guess some people you can't make happy.
Yeah. Well, we're past 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Do we have,
So thank you so much. I did hear from the Deerings. They're traveling.
We're on right now. Can you hear us?
Oh, yes. Oh,
good.
awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. And so just give me 1 second. Yes. All right. Mr. Azure, go right ahead. And
hold on for just a second.
Sure. Mr. and Mrs. Deering, are you?
Yeah. I'm back. I'm sorry. Mr. and Mrs. Searing, both of you will be presenting oral testimony.
Yes, well, we're basically here to answer questions. I thought we were fairly accurate in what we set forth and all of our reasons in our writing. We don't have anything with us.
We thought it was this evening.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, we appreciate you taking us on short notice here. And anyway, we don't have any paperwork with us. So,
well, the procedure is you would be sworn in and you would present oral testimony on what you believe to be the assessed value of your property. And then when you're done, the assessor can ask you questions and we can ask you questions, we the board members. And then after that, the assessor would present their testimony as to how they set the value of the property. and you can ask them questions and we can ask them questions. Then you can have closing arguments and then we'll vote. So right off the bat, we'll have the clerk swear both of you in.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Deering, Mr. Azier. So you just repeat after me. So please say your name.
Scott Deering.
Susan Deering.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin?
I do.
And do you solemnly swear that the evidence and testimony you will give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Would the assessor please read for the record the parcel number of this property and the assessed value?
The parcel number is 21-236-1, and the 2021 land and total assessment is $67,500.
And
So
it's
everybody
just
knows
land,
it's
is that correct?
Just a vacant piece of property.
Yes, vacant land.
No, fine. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Deering, you can now present your testimony as to what you believe the assessed value of that property should be.
Okay, we paid $50,000 for it, which we think stands by itself. It wasn't a forced. It wasn't a forced sale. The property had been for sale for many years. It was for sale for $62,000, I believe. We offered them $50,000 and they accepted it immediately. You know, had I known how this works, I probably should have offered them less. But anyway, that's where it's at. We did look at a couple other pieces of property, which I think we set forth in our appeal. One of them was over, which I talked to the assessor in his office a few weeks ago, and we found that it was actually in Bellevue. But it was a similar size acreage, and it had basically kind of the same thing, and you know, maybe a little less traffic area, but it had some other issues too. And that one was listed, I believe, for $40,000, and it sold for $36,000. And looking back, it's also my recollection that the year before it had sold for low 30s. So, and somebody had just turned it over, and they made a little bit of a profit with the surge, I guess, lately in real estate values. I think there was one other one that we had that was comparable to what we thought was ours. And I think we sent it. It had an assessment lower too of about 50,000. So anyway, I mean, we appreciate the assessor lowering it and everything he's done for it, and I can kind of see where he's coming from. The other homes maybe in the area are assessed a little bit too high as well. But you know, with the building costs today, to build a house on there, you're almost immediately in the hole, because the houses up and down that street have been selling for $250 in that area. And you know as well, you're not building a house for that. And I can answer them.
Okay, does the assessor have questions?
No, I'll be presenting the case.
Okay, first of all, I mean, if you, would the clerk swear in the assessor, and then I have some questions if you don't have any questions before you present your case. So
certainly. Mr. Plasek, are you doing that one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Russ also, just repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jim Plasek.
Thank you. Do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin. You can just say, I do.
I do.
I do.
And thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence and testimony you will give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Before you start, Mr. Deering, when was that property purchased for 50,000?
I believe it was September of October of last year.
2020.
Of 2020.
Okay, so it's a recent purchase then, October 2020.
Correct. And we had asked immediately when we purchased the property that we assumed that it would just be assessed at, at that value or below. We didn't know we'd run into these problems. And I talked to the assessor immediately when we were still.
He was very helpful.
And he was very helpful too. When we either at the time we purchased it or just prior to.
And the realtor said no problem.
And the realtor said no problem.
Present it and they'll lower it. That's what he told us.
That's what he told us.
What was the property listed for?
62, I believe.
Okay, 62, and you said it had been for sale for some time?
Yeah, years and years. And I had asked the realtor, I said, why hasn't this sold already? And he said, I don't know. So,
is it a residential lot?
Yes. And the thing of it was, I guess it was my understanding that the previous owners were trying to pump some condominiums or some multifamily in there. I don't know. And the neighbors were up in arms about it. They were ready to throw up a huge fight. Okay. And so they were scaring off people, but we had no intention. We just, we're looking for a retirement home. So.
Okay. And where is that located?
It's
3500 block of Highland Center Court.
30. Did you hear that from my wife?
Not the whole thing.
Okay. 3500 block Highland Center Court. It's right in front of some nursing home.
It's next to
a nursing home.
Autumn's Promise nursing home.
Yeah. We don't have an address. They just listed that's 3500 because there is another address that is 3500 Highland Center Drive, which is an actual address, and ours we noticed later that it's. I don't know what it is. Anyway, ours says 3500 block.
Okay. And how big is the lot?
Just over 2 acres.
Okay, so pretty good size.
Yes, that's what we wanted for our dog.
Okay.
And it's,
does anyone else have any questions of the objector? Okay, we'll have the assessor present their testimony.
Yes, prior to the purchase by the Deerings, they contacted me to ask about the procedure for reviewing the sale. I requested a copy of their sales agreement, which they faxed to me, and I did tell them that I would take a look at the sale. And you see on the screen there, this is my property review packet. So the property is located just south of Highway 54. It's, if you know where Spartan Road is, it's at the southern part of Spartan Road, the terminus where it meets Highland Center Drive. You can see the Autumn Promise Assisted Living is to the east. There's one residence to the west. The rest of the property is either Department of Transportation or the City of Green Bay owns along the highway there. To the south is residential areas. The property's 2.38 acres. It sits about 10 feet above the elevation of the highway. Let's see. The subject property has planned unit development for zoning, which allows single family uses. You know, the only listing information, the people that they purchased the property from is ABS1 LLC, which I found out afterwards, quite a bit later when I was validating the sale, that it's a LLC, a subsidiary of a bank. And they, Investors Community Bank out of Manitowoc. and they hold property that's been repossessed, both real estate and personal property. The property was listed as far back as I could find was March of 2018. In our record, we do have where it was offered for sale earlier. I don't have any listing values at those times. There were appraisals of the property that were done over the years. 2 of them were in our file. The original listing price that I found was in March of 2018 for $89,800. It was lowered in July of 18 to $84,900. The last price change that I saw was from April of 2019, where it was lowered to $79,900. The property was advertised and listed as condominium property. I don't know how well they marketed the property. There were a couple signs, one on the highway and one on the road, but that was about it. So when the Deerings came to me, I reviewed the value. I told them that I would not be able to adjust their assessed value to their purchase price. It's just not something that I'd be able to do, looking at and trying to keep the equity between other lots in the area. There's one residence to the west, and when that property was first developed, the sale price of that land was quite high, in the $70,000 range, and it's a smaller lot. So, you know, those values were established by the market back then, and the most recent appraisal that we had of this property was from 2016, and it was $86,000. So let's see. When I reviewed the value, I was mostly concerned about the location to the highway, because residents report a lot of highway noise, especially people going up and coming from Door County on the weekends. The assisted living facility, I don't think is detrimental to the neighborhood. The other residents don't complain about it, and there's not, most of the traffic has to do with the residential neighborhood to the south of the property. So when I reviewed it, I looked at the sales of lots immediately around it. Most of those are much smaller lots. And those properties are assessed anywhere from the low $40,000 range to the $30,000 range, depending on the size. So the smaller lots are assessed around $30,000 to $36,000. The larger lots are in the $40,000 range. So when I adjusted the value, it was based on the location and giving consideration for utilities, which were a little bit more than what you normally see along a road, and the location of the highway. I made an adjustment on the assessment and lowered it from $87,800 to $67,500. The Deerings came in to see me during open book. Mr. Deering wanted me to lower the assessment to the purchase price, and I reiterated that I could not do that. I think the adjustment that I made was fair and reasonable, and he presented at that time comparables. The one that was on Gunn Street that he mentioned is 1.394 acres. It's a commercial lot. It's just south of the Walmart property and just south of the railroad. You can see that on the map on the previous page. If you go up a little further there, Celestine. And that property sold for $36,500 in August of 2020. And as you can see, it's just south of the railroad. The red shaded area I added, there's a large power line that goes through the property, so that encumbers the use of the property. I don't feel this is a very comparable property at all, because of the location and the power line issue. The other property that they talked to me about was 2579 Evening Star Court. That's also located in the village of Bellevue. It is a residential lot. It's a large lot, 2.131 acres, but you can see from the drawing that over 70% of the lot is considered wetland by the DNR, and it's basically one site. It hasn't sold, it's in a new development. And yesterday I looked and found a listing for it on Zillow for $85,000. Again, I don't feel that it's a very comparable property. When Mr. Deering was in, he stated that his goal was to get the taxes for the property to be about $1,000 a year. I responded, I don't value property based on taxes. It's based on value and equity. And in order to maintain the equity of our properties here in the city, you know, I take that seriously, and I gave all the consideration I could for the property. As far as comparables that I have, there are very few truly comparable properties, especially for something that size for residential within the city. The highway has an influence, and it's hard to find large lot sales along the highway. However, there is a sale on Luxembourg Road just south of the subject property that sold for $82,000 in 2019. It's a couple acres. It only allows one building site because it's a narrow lot. There is a creek to the north of the property, and the lot is not serviced by our utilities like sewer and water, so it needs a well and septic system. I've got two other sales of larger parcels. They're over north of Alpine at the far east end of Deckner Road on Burgundy Court. Both of those lots, each one of them sold individually for $74,000 and $74,900. Again, they're smaller lots. They only afford one building site. Both of the lots have an easement through them for drainage. And the back of the lots back up to public property, and it's near the railroad that is to the north. So, you know, those are the only large parcel residential sites that I've got sales for in the area. In the immediate area of the subject, to the west, there is a development over by Largo Lake, and I've got sales there of two lots that sold in 2020. One of them sold for $40,000. These lots are closer to the highway than the subject parcel. They're almost even in elevation. And those properties do have a berm built on the back to help with the noise. The other lot sold for $49,400. Then just down the street from those lots, there are 2 more lots on Schubert Place. One of those sold in 2020 for, sold in 2017 for $48,000. And the other one right next door to it sold for $49,900. One of them is closer to the highway than the other. But these are typical lots that you would see in a residential area as far as size goes. They're located close to the highway, and the values, the neighborhood that they're in is a already established neighborhood, and there's only a few lots for sale left in that development. Another one of those lots that's further south away from the highway, sale number 5, sold in 2020 for $47,000. All of the lots that I mentioned here now, except one, has a building on it at this time. They were new construction. I did find sales further away from the highway in developments that show what the typical sale price of lots are. I included these to try and show what impact the highway might have on value. The sale prices are a little bit higher the further away you get from the highway, which is something you would expect. The highway is an influence factor. But again, the sale prices are strong in the usually mid to upper $40,000 range. One of the sales I included, sale number 6, is just south of the subject property in a brand new development off of Spartan Road. That lot sold for $64,500. It's only a 12,000 square foot lot. So it's not even a quarter acre. Lots in new developments like this typically sell for a higher price because the locations are sometimes more desirable. And there's other factors that go in. The developer, once a subdivision gets well built, and that they may lower the prices on their lots just to sell them, just to get them off their books because they're moving on to other projects. So when you get into a new development, the lot values and the lot sales are typically stronger because people are trying to purchase the prime locations in those developments. Overall, the values shown on the off-water sales are strong and typically in the $40,000 range. The subject property, if it were further developed, could certainly bring more value than it is. I think part of the problem was it was marketed as condominium development property. I know I myself, if I drove by looking for a residential lot, I wouldn't even look twice at it once I saw the sign. And I would think they must be asking too much money for it, or they're looking for a different type of buyer. So, the comparable properties that the Deerings brought to me, I don't think were very comparable at all. And the lot sales that I have, I think fully back up my valuation, and I just believe that I made a good decision, based on the information that I had to make an adjustment, and any further adjustment is unwarranted at this time. I think the Deerings got a good value. And I think ABS1, being a subsidiary of a bank, was motivated to sell the property, since we all know banks aren't allowed to hold real estate in stock for long. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do the Darians have any questions of the assessor?
No, I just have a statement if it's okay.
You can make a closing statement if you don't have any questions at this time. I have a couple of questions and then we'll let you make a closing statement. How's that?
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested in going back to, I think you just covered the last issue, and that was that this holding company represented the bank. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so it's not a foreclosure as such. It's just property that the bank had held through the LLC for some time.
The bank acquired the property in lieu of foreclosure in 2018.
Okay. In lieu of, okay. So the bank.
Yes.
And then, okay. So then really it is a foreclosure property sale. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
it's just
how
the bank didn't own it. It was an LLC that owned it instead of the bank.
Yes. When I was validating the sale, I just needed to find out what this company was, and I did some research and found out it was a subsidiary of a bank.
Okay, great. Then that has some effect upon the price, of course. It's not going to be a long arm transaction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's motivation there when a property is owned by a bank.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions of the assessor?
One other thing that I might want to point out, and Department of Revenue has given guidance this year because of COVID. And one of the things that was pointed out to us is that sales prices in a non-revaluation year are not to be followed. We look at the maintenance years as being those years that we are to look at uniformity in the assessment. So we don't chase sales up or down, and that's something that you've heard me say year after year, because that results in non-uniform assessment. So if you've got two identical properties, you don't chase a sale on one because of the way the market is, because that's what would happen if we did that now, because the way the market has changed so dramatically over the years. We've got 20% changes in value just because of the cost of the lumber, as Mr. Antono has said. So if we were to do that, we'd have sale prices change in values left and right. So what we do is we have to do revaluation. So in this instance, what Jim has done is to review the sale and look at what surrounding assessed values are and feed that into the same way as he would looking at that in relationship to what the negative impacts are, whether it be the highway and the property next door, and what the other properties that have sold have had the same impact. So he's looked at other sales. He's done a good job at looking at other properties that are similar and those that are not similar, just to get an idea of what that impacts would not have on him, so that he gets an idea of what the values would be on a non-impacted sale. So he's done a good job figuring that out. So what he's presented is the reasoning why the value should stay the same. And I agree with him. I mean, I think he's done a good job keeping it where it should be and adjusting it to where it should be. I understand the Deering's viewpoint that it should go right to the sale, but our hands are tied, and it's because of the way that the law has been written and what we have to follow. And we'll make adjustments next year when we do the revaluation of the entire city. It still may not go to the exact sale price, but when you buy property from a bank, you're getting a deal on the sale price, and that shouldn't relate back to what the assessed value is. And that's something that we recognize when we set the value.
Okay, good. Does any board member have any questions of the assessor? Okay, nobody has any? Okay. Mr. Daring, you can make your closing statement then.
Yeah, well, okay. I just wanted to thank Jim and all the people who spent time on this.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Does the assessor have any other comments they'd like to make?
You know, present and Mike, yeah, I'm done yet, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I don't have anything further.
Okay, Mr. Daring, did you have something you were saying, or? Okay. No. Okay.
I think Mr. Azier, I think that might have been Mr. Lawrence.
No.
Mr. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. Does anyone, any board
here?
member have anything they would like to discuss before we vote? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to accept the assessor's value of this property. And I don't have the parcel number again, but the assessed value, I believe, was, what was it, 67?
67.5.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do we
sir.
have a motion?
I would so move.
Second.
We have a second. Would the clerk call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Azier,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Antono.
Aye.
That motion is passed.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Daring, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. We just wanted to try.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim, for all his help too.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. You guys take care.
Yep, you too.
All right. Thank you.
Do we have any other business to bring before the board at this time?
Thankfully, no.
Okay. Good
Yes,
job.
I do not have any other
Office,
items.
I would entertain a motion that we adjourn until next.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Azier,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
and Mr. Antono.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. That is passed. We are adjourned.
Okay.
Thank
bye.
you all.
See you next year.
See you
Thank you all
next
for
year.
coming in. Appreciate it.
We'll probably be more busy next year, right, with the general assessment?
No, I wouldn't think so.
But yeah. Should we plan on a week or so?
Oh, no. I think we'll keep, well, Mr. Kohlenberg will probably send out a bunch of flyers. That's his normal thing. But I think we'll have a long open book, and then hopefully only the people that are really, really angry with us will come to the board review, and probably it won't be that long. I don't think it'll be a week. I guess maybe 4 days at the most.
Okay.
So we'll try to keep it down, but we'll have a long open book period. We'll have a lot of discussions with the property owners prior to, so try to keep it down so you guys won't have a lot of this type of work.
Well, hopefully we'll be back face to face too, which would be nice.
Yes, we will.
And then it's my job to bring the treats, from what I understand.
You got to bring.
You understand correctly.
Coffee, yeah.
I will provide.
3 years worth.
I will provide.
three years worth, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Richard. And if
Take
you
care,
two
everybody.
gentlemen, if you guys find anybody that possibly you don't like that you want also to serve on the board review, let us know. We'll let Celestine know.
Yes, yes. I do have someone who I think is going to be joining us for next year. And we do have one other vacancy. So I am always looking for people who are bright and eager and good listeners and patient. So thank you.
Maybe I could load up the board with a bunch of people from my neighborhood out here. We're getting Ron, you know, so now we can try to get a couple more.
Yeah. Bigger the
Take
party,
care.
the better.
See you later. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.